Hello, this is Pat Cahill from Pat Cahill's Metalworks, and today I thought we'd do something a little fun. I'm going to make a tie bar, and chose this is a Chinese war sword, and I just drew it out on a piece of paper and stuck it to the back or to the top of some 12mm low dome wire. And so the first part will be to saw it out, and then we'll go from there. So let me get ready for that, and I'll bring it right back. Okay, so let's start sawing it out. You can start anywhere. I'm going to start at the top. Okay, there we have the outline of the sword. So now what we want to do is to clean up all the edges, starting with the file, then moving to sandpaper. If it gets hard to hold, you can use these clamps that I use quite often. You can clamp it anywhere. Get it in there nice and tight. And then go continue your filing. That might require a different file, a half round. So I'm going to do this, clean it all up, and bring it back when we're on to the next step. That looks good for now. We're going to have to do a little bit more working around here, but for now, that's perfect. So what we want to do now is make our blade. Now, we're not going to make this like really sharp, because it really wouldn't work very well. That's something you put on your tie or glove, a lapel pin, or the tie bar. I don't want it to be dangerous. I want it to look dangerous. So we're just slowly filing off the side that has the blade on it, the edge. You can see how that's coming. And we're just keep working at it slowly. First with a file, and then we'll sand it and make it smooth. This is pretty easy. There's no trick here. The only thing that you want to make sure is that you're even where the edge of your blade starts to come down all the way along. So so I'm going to finish that up off camera, and we'll be on to the next step. Okay, so that's done. There's our blade. We can still work on it whenever we want if we need to. I think it looks pretty good now. It needs some polishing, but that will come later. Our next step is going to be to put saw marks into the handle, the grip, so it sort of looks like you have a wrapped grip. So that's really just being careful, and I need my opti pad. Here we go. I'm trying to be evenly spaced. Start right at the guard. Here we go. Here's the first one. And I could do it at a slight angle. Yeah, and then see, we want to try to do it evenly spaced. Well, it's always even that there's only two. You're eyeballing this. I mean, it's not going to be exactly. It's not like I'm taking out my calipers to make sure it's exactly the same distance each time. That one's a little bit wider, but it's not going to matter. And you can see how it's coming along. And this one you do want to take your time on, so I'm going to do this off camera. This is most of my stuff I do. Well, because it does take a bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to finish this up, and I'll bring you back when that's done. Okay, so that's done. And we'll clean it up a bit as you polish it and stuff. The next thing is, on these swords they have a ring at the top. One would call it the pommel. And so, first thing we're going to do is make sure we do our best to find the center. And then use your center hole punch, or, yep, center hole punch. And then drill out a hole. Now, when you're doing this, you should start with a small hole and then enlarge it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use a drill bit first, and then I'm going to go to ball burrs to increase it. And doing it that way also allows you, if necessary, to adjust it so that it is centered nicely. Okay, so there's our initial hole. This is as centered as it's going to be. And now I have a little ball burr set. These aren't great ball burrs, but they will do the trick. And we'll just slowly increase the size until we get the hole as large as we want. Use burr lube as often as you can. It'll make your drilling a lot easier and your burrs last longer. Okay. Okay, it's getting there. I think a little bit larger. Alright, that looks good. And I can always adjust this side a little bit so that it is more symmetrical with the other side. Just by filing it away carefully, keeping my rounded edge. It's going to take a little bit. But it's coming. Alright, so I'll finish that up and we'll get on to the next step. Okay, so this is what we have so far for our sword tie bar. And I think the next thing I want to do is to add a little bit of bling to it. So I'm going to center punch a hole right here. Right, I'll show you in a sec. Right there, and I'm going to flush set a diamond in that space. So the first thing one wants to do is to drill a hole. Okay, here's our hole, and then we'll use a setting burr. We want to make sure this is perpendicular to the sword, so the diamond goes in nice and straight. And also want to make sure we know the depth a little bit more. Get the right depth. Want to get it about just a little bit down, about 2/3 of the way down through the setting burr. That looks about right, and we can adjust it if need be. So the next step is to clean out any of the silver that's in there. So I'm going to put this into the sonicator I have over there and let it sit for a while to clean it out real good. And I'll be back with you. Okay, we cleaned it out. Well, let me turn off that sonicator. You want to hear that in the background. And we're ready to flush set the diamond. So the tools I'm going to need: a nice surface to work on. I use these two tools to make sure that you can see everything. One's just it's like a scribe with a nice sharp point, and the other one is a more rounded, very highly polished point. And what I do is I first set the diamond in there. I don't know if you can see that, but that's in there. It's flush with the surface, and it's also sitting nice and flat. So the next thing I want to do, and you need to be careful doing this because you don't want to go off track, is go around the outside with your very sharp scribe. Go very gently at first to begin to make a little trough or a little indentation or score mark. Okay, stepped on the flex shaft there. So, and then the next step is to go to this tool, and it's sort of burnishing the trough we've made with this. You know, the best way to do this is probably show you. I'm going to stop this now. I'm going to get a piece of paper and try to chicken scratch something together so that I can show you exactly what we're doing here. Okay, this is my best try. So here we have the diamond where we first put it into the sword. Then next step we do is we scribe around it to make these little troughs, I call them. And they don't need to be like great, they need to be just as close as you can get to the diamond without, well, you're not going to scratch the diamond. And then we come in with this polishing tool, or this tool here, and we go around and around and we push this part over the diamond to hold it in nice and securely. Does that make sense? I'll see if I want to keep this in later on, so I hope that makes sense. So we're at the stage now where we're going to go around with this tool. Burnisher, a point burnisher. And like I say, what we're doing is taking the side of that trough and basically burnishing and pushing it over the diamond. We'll set the diamond in there. And that's the way it looks. Zoom in maybe. And I don't know, I guess the light. There, I think that's a good one. Okay. So let's get ready for the next step. I'll be back. Okay, so I made a decision. I know this was always meant to be a tie bar, but I really think I'd rather make it into a pendant. Tie bars are nice, it's just that the problem is that there's not really that many people wearing ties nowadays. You know, I worked for 30 days in corporate world and 30 years, and never really wore a tie. One time you wear a tie is maybe on an interview. So we're just going to put this onto a jump ring, rather substantial jump ring at that. Solder the jump ring and make a pendant out of this. Let me get this little bit better. To bring the jump rings together, you sort of push in and go back and forth so you get them all lined up and nicely next to one another. Okay. The nice thing about using this little clasp that I'm using, are you seeing this? Probably not. Okay, so I'm going to setting this up for soldering, and if I can basically prevent this part from touching or just barely touching the jump ring itself, then the jump ring will take all the heat and this won't suck off the heat from it, so it'll be much easier to solder. So we're just using nice hard solder here. Doesn't take much. And some flux. See, close this up right there. There's many ways of putting solder onto the device or the part that you want to solder. One way is to just lay on chips, and that's probably the best way for a lot of things that I do. But other ways, and people are actually much better at it than I am, is just to use a pick. And you ball up, you heat up the solder, and you melt it, stick it to the pick. And showing you how good I'm at it. And then come along here, heat that up, and place it. And then solder. Now, I am in no way a great pick solderer. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty terrible at it. But it's just showing you another way of doing it, and some people are great at it. I think it just takes time and practice, and I don't do it enough to have had the practice. So I'm going to put that in the pickle, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so here it is. I put it on a leather cord here, and it's attached with these ancient beads. This one allows enough friction. You kind of pull on it pretty hard to adjust the length of the necklace or pendant that you want. And once you start, it won't go anywhere. So then you can bring it back to put it on. And once you have it on, adjust it to the size you want. And it's really cool. Quite a cool pendant. The back. And there it is. Zooming, I usually lose my focus, but hopefully you can see it. again the lights. I don't know if the pictures do justice to it. It's really nice. So that's our Chinese war sword pendant with a diamond accent. And there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again. Bye.